I wanted to come over here and give Angie a high five and say, this is how you sell your listings and this is how I advertise it. And I started to talk to a few of my agents that are in production, and everybody has, look, obviously everybody puts things on MLS and the IDX feeds everywhere, right? Everybody has a different strategy, and then certain states are like coming soon, an option where you can put a house on the market and basically nobody can see it until the date arrives, but they can be aware of it so they don't buy a house that they have to settle on when there's a house that they like's coming on the market. So in my due diligence, what I realized is that I'm not qualified to teach that class. So I am finding somebody else who is, because I don't want to get you guys data that isn't the best that I can give. So Angie, bear with me, but I have a few really, really productive listing agents that are going to come in here and touch that topic. I might actually hit the topic like with 2 or 3 different perspectives on the same call. So I'm arranging all that stuff for next week, if that's okay. Okay, so what are we going to do today? It's the next question, right? So I wanted to keep, I've been doing a lot of instructing from the stage, whatever here. So I wanted to make this more interactive, right? Like if you're doing the reps and you're doing the work, like you're always ready to go. Okay. And number 2 is that a lot of the stuff that I'm talking to you guys about is a problem that you'll deal with in 2 weeks or you dealt with for 4 months ago, but the problem that you have on your lap right now is crucial. And I think a lot of the problems that you guys are having is that there's not enough on your lap. Okay, so we could talk about that as well. Anybody want to kind of just basically start off with, if there was one thing they could change about their business right now, what's missing? Where's the handicap?
Good morning.
Ahead, yes.
Listings. I've missed out on a few now because I'm relatively new. So I'm about 18 months in. I've had 3 listings. And the last couple of appointments I've been on, I haven't got it because they said that I'm not experienced enough.
Okay, so the only reason why they know that you're not experienced enough is because of your presentation, because nobody ever asks you how much your experience is unless there's a crack somewhere.
They did, and both of them said my presentation was better than the other agents, but they couldn't get past the fact that I've only sold 3 homes.
So I'm going to push back on that, Emma. Doesn't mean I'm right, okay? But the tug of war of this is that I sold $800 million of listings, and I only got asked how much experience I had when I wasn't confident. I mean, it showed somewhere. It could be in some slight body mechanics. It could have been overexertion of politeness or enthusiasm, right? There is a difference, and it's hard to track where that is. So let's overcome the objection that you have until we can get through the confidence, because there's a lot of people say like fake it till you make it, and like I understand the source of where that statement came from, but I also feel like most of us are not comfortable with that, right? It just feels not like what we should be doing. So you're in the triad, right?
Yeah.
So this is what I'd like you to do on that next. I want you to pull every transaction that EXP had in the triad. Okay. And who are you under, Emma? Who's your sponsor?
Kathy Haynes.
Okay, who's under Patsy Arriaga?
Yeah.
Okay. What I want you to say is that my team, and include Kathy and Patsy in there, because I know Patsy does 50 million a year, and you don't have to have her team name on there, but it is your hive. That is your beehive, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We've sold whatever that number is in production. I work with Patsy and Kathy Haynes, and we pull our business up and we grow together, and we use the same office space, and we co-market, we share information, we look for off-market properties. We've sold this many and then I want you to print out every sale that they've had, put a very thick clip on it, and I want it to hit the desk or the dining room table like this when you go in.
Okay.
And then I don't want you to talk about that topic again.
Making statements.
All right. Just try that next time. First of all, you have nothing to lose because you're 0 for 3 on those last 3. So look, obviously your presentation is going to be good, Emma. Like, and please don't think this is an anti-woke statement, okay? But your presentation is good anyway, right? You're always put together. You did your hair this morning. You were thoughtful about what you wore. You're smiling. Your camera's on. You were conscientious that your background needed to be blurred for whatever reason. You're obviously a person that is able to be cognizant of how other people are perceiving you. So I'm sure the presentation was in line. When I was an appraiser, we were taught this one basic rule, is that the inside matches the outside of the house if you have to guess. So if you got junkyard cars all over the place and cigarette butts all over the sidewalk, the inside's probably not sparkling, okay? So there are exceptions, there are outliers. So I doubt that you were unprepared, and I doubt that you were unprofessional, and I doubt that they didn't like you. So let's take those things off the table. Where I do doubt is that you were super confident, right? I do doubt that you didn't stumble when they asked you that. And I do doubt the fact that they didn't notice that you were anxious in the appointment. Now, how do we get rid of your anxiety in an appointment where you know that they're going to notice these observations despite your very, very sincere attempt to camouflage them? And it's to take the 2 or 3 things that you most fear, the 2 or 3 things that you most fear, and be prepared for them. All right. So I was a Golden Gloves boxer. I taught fighting for years. I was a Muay Thai instructor, right? And it's very, very simple in fights, basically. So I'm 5'9", 170 pounds. Okay. So I fought middleweight. I fought at 159 when I was a younger guy. And it's very, very simple. Most guys that are my size or smaller don't even want to pick a fight with me, right? I don't give the energy off like I'm going to be a fun, easy lay down fight for you. So most of the time I'm fighting people that are significantly bigger than me, right? Because they think they have the advantage there. So what do I know someone's going to do if they're larger than me? First of all, they're going to try to physically wrestle me or use their weight or size advantage, right? So how do I prepare for that most comprehensively? Well, I got a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. So as soon as they get a hold of me, I'm just happy that I didn't have to go chase them down. They just came inside the house. Much easier, right? What's the second thing? Most everybody's going to throw a right haymaker or try to headbutt or tackle or go to the floor. So I am totally prepared for those involvements. And how do I know it's going to happen? Well, I'm able to see which foot is in front, if their hands are clenched, you know, if their adrenaline spiking, how their eyes are dilated, right? If they want other people to break up the fight and they're lingering too long in the trash talk, because that means they're scared. They're just trying to position and posture. So there are certain things that that make you nervous in a fight, which is higher stakes than you're comfortable faking like you're calm. So the only way to offset that is to prepare yourself. So one thing I know in a fight is that if someone's going to fight me that is not a fighter, they're going to go through a terrible adrenaline crash about 45 seconds into the fight, right? Rob knows what I'm talking about. Sean knows what I'm talking about, right? It's going to drop. So they're going to go from so much adrenaline to feel like their arms are like spaghetti and their punches feel like a pillow fight. And after that 45 seconds, when I go 2 gears faster, it is a real distinction between controlling your adrenaline and not knowing how to deal with that. So let's relate this back to what you're saying. So when they say how many houses you sold, I want you to pull your perfectly organized folder out or briefcase out, and I want you to thump that onto the table and say, you can look through this after I leave if you want. Okay. I worked in the back side of the business before I worked on the front side of the business. I wanted to learn this thing from the nucleus to the outer shell. We're ready to rock and roll. We sold, 68 houses last year. Would you like to see how we did that? And then go right into the marketing plan. Okay. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Anybody else have any questions or speed bumps in what's going on right now?
we've got number one in size now too, Rich, that you can use in that arsenal. Number one in size.
Number one in size. Yeah, that's right. Exactly right. And quite honestly, like I know North Carolina numbers pretty well, so I'm pretty helpful for Emma here. We have thousands of agents in North Carolina. We're the number one biggest independent brokerage in the country. In the Canopy MLS, we're number one, right? Which is a big MLS system. You're in a different one. Find out what your ranking is on that. Show them what the Canopy MLS is, because in North Carolina, you either live in Raleigh or Charlotte if you're doing the most amount of units, right? You're right between the both of them, right? So yeah, definitely get right into that. And here's another way of explaining it. Patsy's got what, 55 people in our revenue share? Our team expands, we're 55 agents, but we expand in eight states. So not only have we sold a ton of real estate right around you, but there's a very good chance of wherever you're moving to, we can handle that as well. It's easy. So if I have a 250-pound guy throwing a right hook at me, which I know based on his right foot being back and the fact that he doesn't want to wrestle me, because that would be obvious in other symptoms, I know he's going to throw a right hook somewhere around my head, because that's what annoyed him anyway, is something that happened in the brain area, something I said, right? So as soon as he throws that hook, I have a couple options, right? I can move back, distance myself. I can lean in and duck and be at his back to where I can hit him, he can't hit me. I could use his force and energy to send him in the direction that I'm going to help him go in. There's all kinds of things. I'm so ready. I'm actually excited about the hook because he's going to do so much heavy lifting. He can get his 250-pound body closer to me in the wrong direction than I can pull him. So at the very end, I'll thank him for directing himself into all these different places on the ground that he wanted to familiarize himself with, right? So think like a fighter when it comes to that. So anyway, okay, good. And I also like that Sean, who by the way is a very new agent, just gave you that data point. Right? Sean, how many deals have you done?
6 months and just 2 off-market EXP deals.
There we go. Okay. So being a listing agent is practice. You know why there's so many buyer's agents? Because most agents are intimidated by listings. It's a whole different thing. You're going on a show, you're going on stage. This is a performance. Okay. You got to go through, you got to build rapport. You got to be prepared. You got to know what the value is. You got to know what your marketing plan is. You got to deal with their objections. You got to see who's the decision maker. You got to see the psychology and motives behind the deal. You got to be able to know that you're competing with other people, which gives a lot of people stage fright. You could talk bad about your competition. You never get business that way. What you talk about is what your plan is for that property. There's all kinds of things going on. So what I would start doing is preparing the listing presentation and pitching Kathy and Patsy on it. And I would have them pick you apart ad nauseum.
And I'm absolutely fine with that. I have to say, I think one of them, I think that their minds were made up before I'd even walked into the door. They were splitting up, and clearly he is my friend.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I know he's maybe not the most well behaved. And so I think by bringing me in, she immediately like, no, we're not using who you want. So that one, I'm kind of going to give myself a little bit of a pass, but the other one, 100%. You know, I've obviously given off something. You're right.
You've given off. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, you know, boys are really good at this because we're used to getting rejected by all the ladies on these calls, from like middle school dances all the way to old age, right? So we deal with rejection sort of a little bit more casually, right? But it still hurts and it's still hard, right? So, you know, when you're putting yourself in a situation where you're dealing with rejection like that, you have two choices. One is that you can let it define where you're at, or you can have the John Maxwell theory, which is you either win or you learn. And if you deny that you didn't win, you have not learned.
Yeah.
So you do get a pass on that one. But you know what I would have done on that appointment, by the way, for whatever it's worth? As soon as I had that feeling, I would have said to the wife, look, I know the chances of me getting this listing being the fact that your husband is suggesting me and he hasn't been well behaved, and then I'd poke at him, like I'd put him right on the spot, is very, very low. But I just want to let you know I'm a consummate professional, and my entire job is to make sure that you divide whatever equity in this house is however you guys want, but we have the most to work with. And if you go
I did say something,
that's all you can
along
do.
those lines.
Okay, that's all you can do, and then just let the chips fall where they fall. All right, Julie, you're next. Hey, Julie.
Hey, Rich. I just wanted to kind of add to the conversation here, if it's okay.
Good. You should. You sell way more real estate than I do. Please do.
Yeah, which is not so great, right? If you ask my coach. I know that I mentor 7 mentees, and one of them recently I had the opportunity to take him on a listing appointment with me. I introduced him, as a partner of mine, and he just kind of listened and sat on the sidelines there. He kind of, in a sense, listened to me in action. So after we had the listing appointment and we were, outside, I mean, it was priceless for him to actually see how I interacted to, the conversation. And I think, I mean, just from my point of view, those kind of things are huge. And then practice, like you just said. So
Julie, did they ask you how many houses you sold?
no.
Sorry, I didn't know the answer to that. I was playing with that live.
No,
Um,
but if I was to make an observation, one reason why there's a hell of a lot more buyer's agents and listing agents is because people don't, they don't know what they're worth, and they don't want to, a listing, you have to basically prove to this client what you're worth, and that this is what you're going to ask to be paid. As a buyer's agent, a lot of people don't have the buyer agent agreement, and hey, you're not paying me, the listing agent is, right? So there's that confidence. I got a referral. Don't tell Hank. I got a referral, and I'm licensed in 3 states. So I got a referral in Arizona, in Prescott, from an agent I'm trying to actually attract here. And the seller actually called me the week before the appointment that we had already lined up, and I did all my stuff, right? I had a conversation on the phone. I talked to him, and I sent him a send out card, looking forward to meeting you, send with my brownies, the whole thing. And then the week before the appointment, he called and he just was questioning whether or not I felt confident to represent him on this property, because I don't live there. I live in Oregon. And Prescott is actually, I have a home in Scottsdale, but it's, an hour and a half from there. So I assured him that I had a team, that I knew what I was doing. This is not my first rodeo. I'm going to take great care of him. And then when I went to the appointment, and by the way, on the airplane ride there, I was cramming for my presentation, as far as knowing the market, knowing the neighborhood, what is pending, what's sold, what I was just totally cramming on the airplane ride there, because I was specifically going there for this appointment. And when I got there, I nailed it. And I knew everything that I needed to know. And then I said to him, I charge 6%. And the sibling that was there, she said, so you pay a buyer's agent part of that, right? And I said, I do, yes. And she goes, well, since you're going to be handling the painting that's going to be happening here, and the carpet replacement, and all this other general contracting stuff, you better make sure that you charge us separate for that. So, because we don't want a buyer's agent to get paid more than you when you put more time into it. I was like, okay, absolutely.
Yeah.
And by the way, my referral, she that I got from the gal that I'm trying to recruit, she said that the clients are over the moon happy with me, and she's grateful that I'm taking great care of them.
I mean, Julie, like, first of all, how nice is that when they
Yeah.
offer extra money? And then
Never.
also, who's ever taken a plane ride for a listing?
Hi, Kathy.
Right?
Problem.
Hold on one second. Okay. All right, listen, there's a few things that sparked, and Cheryl, I'll get to you here in one second.
Hold on one
Hold
second.
Okay. One thing is commission objections. Okay, that was the opposite of one, right? Here's how you handle commission objections. And if you actually handle exactly the way that I teach it, it's the only thing I can say on this call that I'm going to train on, that follow my words exactly and never deviate from it, because it works 100% of the time. hey, listen, one of the crucial parts of my job is not just marketing, but it's basically the fact that I am here to negotiate. Price your house at the highest price that we can get, and then keep the most amount of it through the negotiations, which are conventionally when we're negotiating the offer, but often happen during the process of the sale too, in the due diligence period, right? While we're in earnest, right? And if you're able, just by asking one simple question, and want to shop me with someone who sold 1% of the homes that I've sold, if I drop my commission to you right off the bat, then how can I protect your equity in the home when I can't even protect my earnings? Like, if I can't handle my own money, imagine how easy it is to give away your money behind the scenes, $50, $20, $30,000 at a time, because it's a lot easier to give away other people's money than it is to give away my own. Would you agree? Right?
Yep.
So it shuts it down every time. Every single time, you always get the listing, And there's been a lot of people that have told me, oh yeah, I get 7% on listings. And I think to myself, yeah, okay, would that happen one time and you're trying to explain to me that you do this all the time? It's not easy. But to keep your 6%, very, very easy. Also, remember, guys, they're going to treat you like the person that you present. If you have a huge picture of your card standing by a sign like that, you don't see like financial advisors and tax strategists and prosecuting attorneys or high-end defense attorneys or heart surgeons with the picture of themselves on the card. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a picture on your card. I'm just saying it is a weird business where a lot of us make hundreds of thousands of dollars and we have our face on the card. Like, that's, just something to think about, right? Secondly, bring in apple pies and baskets and stuff like that. Like, you might want to really think about that stuff. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it. I'm just saying that you should think about it. And wherever you land on that decision is probably in alignment with who you are and the energy that you give. And it probably is the right decision for you. Like, for me, if I brought an apple pie to a $3 million sale, like, I don't know if I could deliver that without laughing to myself, right? And then them witnessing that laugh. So like, you have to be really, really careful. Now, sometimes I've gone to closings and I've been like, so where's my gift? Right? Like, I just joke. But like, the fact of the matter is that you don't want to follow what you've seen in this business, because this is the largest profession of unprofessional people ever sorted, and they're allowed. So there's a lot of embarrassing things that you see going on that you might even be doing, and it doesn't mean you're an idiot, but we are following sort of a leaderless business of people behaving in a weird way out there in the public with our business. We're professional negotiators. We're consultants. The fact that we have a super key and we can unlock doors and let people walk through houses is the tiniest bit of our job. Like, I could train a very, very smart monkey to operate 50% of the task if they could learn how to drive a car, right? But the fact is that where we make our 3% is based on knowledge of the market, guidance, pricing, negotiations, preemptive expectations, and problem handling, and communication. Okay, that is the spine of where money is made. Cheryl, go right ahead.
So, couple of things I just want to add into. When I sold real estate in California and I worked with sellers, it was also kind of in a shifting market when I changed markets. I went from, where I worked and started my career, then I moved to the San Francisco Bay Area, and the market had shifted. It was like 2007, 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
And a lot of those people wanted the same pricing of the 2006, 2005 market. And of course, they're all experts because they watch the news and they read the papers and they know all kinds of shit, right? So I had to battle that, right? You have to battle that. And that's the challenge I always had with sellers is, they always felt they knew more than me, even though it was my full-time job, right? I did it every day, 8 hours a day plus, So you have to kind of remember some of these folks do have some information from the web, right? They do get reports. You have to know that going into a listing agreement. You have to know what that is. But I think in the initial call, making the appointment for the listing agreement or listing appointment is you have to also kind of ask the right questions, right? Like, is there anything I should know about your property? What, anything special? Is there anything I should know about the parties who were selling the property? Is there any concerns? And so that way you can walk in the door and have that completely under control before you even start the conversation too, right? But I think Rich is spot on with using your team, right? Using everybody on your team and their results with sales over the last 12 months, if you will, just to show that you're strong, right? You have resources, you're strong, you can get this done, and just exude confidence, like over exude confidence, and not ego, but confidence, right? So I think that's a big piece of it, and just I wouldn't say argue with them about the fact that you're a newer agent. Just be like, you know what, I might be a newer agent, but I'm very confident I can get this done for you, and if I needed help, I have resources. I have a whole lot of resources.
So Emma, one of the things that is an interesting concept is that, like, so if you were going against me in my market when I used to sell real estate out here, I might have intimidated you on that, right? So the way that you would have slayed me is you would have just gone in there and say, look, you're going to talk to Rich during the listing presentation. He's going to get everything marketed. He's going to subcontract out the things that we all subcontract out. And then you'll be talking to his executive assistant most of the time. And then you'll be talking to his transaction coordinator a good bit at a time, right? And not everybody wants to be in the manufacturing line. Not everybody wants to be one of Rich's, 70 listings. I like to talk to one person when I'm dealing with something. So like if I'm having surgery on my knee, I'm not going to go to the person who has the most amount of knee surgeries necessarily. I'm going to go to a person who's extraordinarily competent in knee surgery and is interested in post-care, physical therapy, natural things that I can do that can actually give me testimonials to other people at knee surgery. It just really depends on what kind of experience do you want. Do you want the big sort of quantity experience, or do you want the personalized touch that only somebody who's decided on purpose not to sell 70 houses a year can provide? We all crave different kinds of agents. I'm here to present to you the kind of agent that I am. Okay. Another thing that,
my presentation.
yeah.
That
Good.
you will get me throughout, I'm one-on-one, all of that. And the very front page of my listing presentation is a breakdown of EXP stats. How many global
Good.
agents you have, how many American, So I've tried to, I kind of already thought that in my head that this may
Good.
be an objection. So
No, well, listen, remember, all business is not good business. Okay.
Oh,
yeah. And number two, like, I think having a British accent. So I'm mostly surrounded by British people on my calls because we open up the UK here, right? So Adam, Scott, Ben, Barry, all these guys are constant calls, right? And they call US agents on revenue share, and people just melt in their hands. Now, if you call UK agents, it's going to be the opposite experience, right? So you got to use all of the things that Americans find to be like just, hypnotizing type of attributes, and just keep very, very straight on. You'll be fine. I think it's a rep problem that you're having. You haven't had enough reps. Most people don't get enough reps on listings. I mean, what do you get? 8 listings a year? How many reps are you getting? 12, 15? But if you did 15 days of listing presentations to Kathy and Patsy, your reps would be unbelievable. And you'd be able to rock and roll and get right into it. The other thing about the outside noise determining what the marketplace looks like, I'm going to go a little bit late on all these calls. I'm sorry. What the outside market looks like is I try to get a basic temperature check on awareness when I sit down. So you walk in the door, you go through the tour. You're like, listen, you guys want to get into the meat of it? They always say yes. You sit down at whatever table they all sit down. Don't sit in. A lot of people are like, sit in his chair or her chair. Don't do that. Somebody sits in my chair at my dining room, I'm throwing them right out the window. Okay. So sit down in a neutral place, try to sit on their side. And what you really basically want to do is say, listen, there's a lot of information out there about the market, and some people have some dated information, like we're in a crazy seller's market and there's 40 offers on each house and the news is telling you this, or some people are watching the news and thinking that we're going to Armageddon. Tell me where you see the real estate market to be, and then I'll share with you where the data is at. And that's a real good way for you to make a distinction that you are more knowledgeable than what they're reading and hearing, but that you're aware that they might be slightly distant from the pulse of what's going on. Okay. The way that you frame your questions and the timing. And by the way, here's another thing. When someone says something really stupid to you at a listing appointment, or another agent says something really rude to you, if you give them a good 5-second pause, that is your best response. Just give them a good 5 seconds. And then sometimes what I'll say, and I know I'm a bit of a tougher personality on stuff like that, but I'll be like, I'll let you take that back if you want. You can have it back. We'll just strike it from the record, okay? Right?
Wait.
But you can get a laugh at them sometimes that way. So just remember, you're controlling the experience. This is your show. If it goes terrible, it's going terrible based on how you want it to go. Okay. And if it's going terrible and you want to go all the way down to the bottom, enjoy yourself, relax, get some good life experience out of that. Okay. But don't let someone else control your bad experience. Right? I mean, you're already in it. Go ahead. Is it Janai or?
Yeah, it's Janai. I think one thing also, I think the advantage of being with EXP is we're global. And I know that I compete in a very small market here in the northern Wisconsin. It's very small compared to what most of you do. But I was recently challenged because I put a property on the market before I wanted to in November because the seller wanted to. We took it off market, but I put it back on higher. And most of the agents around here said, "You're nuts. Why are you doing this? You know, there's never going to be." I said, "First of all, we sold it, and we sold it at the price it was listed at." And I said, "We're competing on a global level now because of COVID and everything else. If you're not understanding that the numbers are increasing because we're on a global perspective, you're missing out on doing what's best for your sellers, because our market has shifted. It is no longer myopic, and we need to approach it that way." And that's what I offer to the table. I'm not competing with local agents anymore. I'm competing on a global market, and we're selling to people from Colorado, Arizona, you know, and
I
that's
love that.
what we have to do.
You guys should write down the word myopic because I don't think you've used it recently. What an amazing way of explaining that. Thank you. The other thing I would show is have you guys seen any of these migration maps on the internet of where people are moving out of? Do people feel like Californians are moving to Idaho? Do people feel like the Northeast is moving to Florida and North Carolina and South Carolina?
They
Right?
are.
Show these migrations. And what you say is, look, on our website, every EXP listing across the nation is on our site, unlike anybody else's site except for Zillow, right? What we are doing is we are working on the back channels with 88,000 other shareholders / real estate agents at EXP. And we're trading information and market. Like, look, Sean said he did 2 deals in the last 6 months. We're both off market, right? So that's a pretty interesting concept to give yourself an edge to it. The other thing I would do is say, look, we had 7,200 referrals come through our network last year. What does that mean to you as a seller? That means buyers were able to find sellers off the MLS or through referrals or through other channels that nobody else has access to, that we were able to do here. And then show them what it looks like. Hey, you guys, anybody here use Facebook? All right, well, this is our Facebook because they created it, so it looks just the same. And this is where we're all interacting. And have you ever seen a collaborative model like that, where an agent in Arizona will be able to send me a deal in Wisconsin because we're at the same company? No, they would go into their little brick and mortar office, and that message would never get sent across the country. So you just have to know what you offer and sit still in there. And you also have to know what they're going to throw at you. And I think as soon as you get that right ratio of gas and clutch, you're smooth. You're shifting through the deals at that point. All right. That's it till Tuesday. Sorry, anybody else said something? I heard.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, good one. For those of you who want to continue on this conversation, we will obviously be having the next one, and I'll just drop the link in. No.
Oh, can I say 2 more things?
Yeah, go.
Okay, 1. All of this training is worthless if you haven't put your DPA points or earned your DPA points, by the way.
Yes, that.
Okay. I mean, that's just simply the case. If you're not putting in your points, then I don't know what you're doing. I just know that you guys are professional students. Okay. So what I want is professional.
Quick question.
Yes, go ahead.
Did this count any point?
No.
No, I'm totally worthless, Angie.
Oh,
You can't even get it. You can't even
Agent,
get a
guys,
half a
DP, quit gaming the system.
point.
Quit trying to game the game.
These meetings are meant to source you to go into action.